You think acting is about pretending, but what I learned in acting school wasn't how to fake it, it was how to stop hiding. And after years of being the expert, the achiever, the one with all the answers, this cracked something open in me that I didn't even know was closed. I've spent most of my adult life in rooms where people looked to me for answers. As a family doctor, I was trained to take control and speak with authority, and above all, never let them see you sweat. But somewhere along the way, I started losing touch with parts of myself, not on purpose, just little by little, until I realized that I was showing up in the world polished, professional, and disconnected. So I did something a little wild. I signed up for an acting class, and then another one. And then, because I couldn't stop thinking about it, I went to Vancouver to do a full-time screen acting intensive. And what happened in that class? Well, let's just say I thought I was going there to get better on camera, but I walked away having learned something that I wish that they taught in medical school. So this is the story of how acting school taught me to stop hiding, and why that might be the most important thing that I have learned, not just for me, but for anyone who wants to lead or create or speak or be truly seen. So I've always been someone who shows up prepared, organized, and on time and in control. You kind of have to be when you're working in medicine. For over 20 years, I was a family doctor. I saw thousands of patients, made life-changing decisions, and carried the weight of other people's pain every single day. It was meaningful work, and I like to think that I was good at it. But I was also performing, not in a dishonest way, but in that way that so many high achievers do. You wear the mask, you keep it together, and you stay professional, even when you're exhausted, even when you're quietly crumbling inside. And here's the thing, I didn't even realize that I was hiding. That's the sneaky thing about success. The world rewards the version of you that is completely put together, that's competent, that doesn't make anyone else uncomfortable. And after a while, you start to believe that that is the only version of you that's acceptable. If this resonates with you, if it sounds familiar, then drop me a note in the comments, because I don't think I'm the only one who feels this. But here's what most people don't know about me. Before I ever put on a white coat, I was a performer. As a kid and a teenager, I was completely obsessed with acting. I did plays, I did musical theater, I took every chance I could to be on stage. And in my late teens, I even started getting some work, commercials and small roles. I was really going for it. But then in high school, something shifted. I started taking science classes and I loved them. I remember thinking, this is fascinating and maybe a little more practical. And little by little, I pivoted. Each audition became a little less important to me. One senior biology class led me down the path that led to med school. And that passion, that creative, expressive, unfiltered part of me, I boxed it up. Not in a dramatic, I'm giving up on my dreams kind of way, more like I grew up. And I told myself it was time to be serious. But here's what I've learned since then. You can't outrun the parts of yourself that crave expression. They will find a way to surface. And if you don't let them out intentionally, they will start leaking through the cracks. So fast forward a couple of decades. I had left medicine by this point. I was building a completely different kind of business, helping people in new ways through online courses and coaching and content. And I was on camera a lot more, but something didn't feel right. I watched myself back in videos and I thought, why do I seem stiff? Why do I sound smaller than I feel inside? Why does this version of me feel just a little bit muted? So one day I got this idea, kind of on a whim, to sign up for an acting class here on Vancouver Island. It was a small local group, just one evening a week. Honestly, I thought that it would just be fun. Maybe help me be a little more natural on video. But what happened in that class woke something up in me that had been sleeping for years. I loved it. Not just the exercises and the scripts, but the feeling of being in a space where truth mattered more than polish, where I could experiment and mess up and get weird, and no one cared. I could be seen and not have to explain or justify or earn it. I started looking forward to that class all week. It was the highlight of my schedule. So after a couple of months, I thought, what if I went deeper? That's when I found this full-time screen acting intensive in Vancouver. 2 weeks, Monday to Friday. So Vancouver, for those of you who don't know, is a total hub for the film industry here in Canada. Real studios, real sets, serious training. I didn't know if I'd be the oldest person in the room, probably would be. I didn't know if I would totally fall on my face. But I did know this. I wanted to find out what would happen if I stopped performing and started showing up for real. So I booked it. 2 weeks. Now, my husband, who was totally supportive, he took over all of the family stuff, and he and the boys had just a really extended weekend at home. And I try not to think about the amount of pizza that they might have eaten during that time. Anyway, I went off to Vancouver where I had no family stuff to do, no business calls, and just this acting intensive. Several hours a day, full immersion. So the first morning I walked into the studio, high ceilings, bright lights, cameras everywhere, and about a dozen students, most of them in their 20s. These were aspiring actors auditioning for film and TV and serious about the craft. And there I was, 49 years old, former doctor, online entrepreneur, wondering what on earth I had just signed up for. But by the end of the first day, I was already questioning everything. Because it turns out acting on camera is nothing like what I expected. It's not about performing at all. It's about stripping away everything that isn't true. They didn't want me to project confidence. They didn't want me to be professional. They didn't want me to play a role. They just wanted me to be me. Messy, still, honest. And as someone who had spent most of her adult life being polished and in control, that was excruciating. There was one moment that I'll never forget. We were doing this simple partner exercise on camera, just repeating lines back and forth, really basic. But the teacher stopped me. He said, "You're thinking too much. You're trying to manage how you're coming across." And then he looked right at me and said, "Let it go. You're still performing. Stop trying to be right. Just let us see you." And that hit me hard because I realized that I had spent years being the one who was right, the one who had answers, the one who knew how to hold it together. But in that moment, all I could think was, what if the most powerful version of me isn't the one who is holding it all together at all? That week, I cried more than I expected. I laughed more than I had in months. And I started noticing how much I had been shrinking myself. Even now, even after all the work that I had done. Acting school didn't teach me how to pretend. It taught me how to be present, how to stay in my body when I felt exposed, how to let people see me without rushing in to fix or justify or prove anything. And when you can do that on a screen, in a room, or on a stage, everything changes. Here's what I realized after those 2 weeks. I had spent so much of my life trying to be good. Good at my job, good in front of people, good on camera. And even when I thought I was being authentic, I was still curating myself without even knowing it. Acting school forced me to sit in discomfort, to say a line when I didn't feel ready, to not control how I looked, to be fully present with someone and not break eye contact, to speak without apologizing. And something started to shift. I wasn't shrinking anymore. I wasn't rushing to sound smart or to wrap things up with a neat bow. I was just there, grounded and open and real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't managing how I showed up. I was inhabiting it. I thought the confidence came from credentials, from preparation, and from knowing your material. But the kind of confidence that I found in acting class, it came from congruence, from your words, your voice, your body, your energy, all telling the truth at the same time. This wasn't just about being on camera. It was about how I speak to my team, how I show up in relationships, how I walk into a room, how I hold space for other people's stories, because I'm no longer afraid of being seen in mine. That's what acting school gave me. Not a new skill, not a performance trick, but permission to stop hiding behind the version of me that I thought I was supposed to be. When I came back from Vancouver, I was different. Not in some dramatic new woman kind of way, but in all the subtle ways that matter the most. I stood taller, I spoke slower, I didn't rush to fill silences. I felt more rooted in my body and my voice and my presence. It's not that I became someone new, it's that I remembered someone old. A version of me that had been buried under years of professionalism and productivity and perfectionism. Here's the thing, you don't have to go to acting school to stop hiding. You just have to notice where you're still wearing the mask, where you're holding back the real version of you, where you're still trying to be who the world expects instead of who you actually are. And if you've spent years being the strong one, the competent one, the one who has it all figured out, maybe you don't need more polish. Maybe you need more truth. That was a surprise for me. After years of being in medicine, of learning how to lead and how to speak and to have it all together, it was acting school that taught me how to finally show up. And now I ask myself this simple question before I walk into a room or turn on a camera or speak to an audience. Am I letting them see me or just the version that I have rehearsed? Because I don't want to perform anymore. I want to connect. And I think maybe so do you. So maybe you're not planning to step into an acting class anytime soon, but I'll ask you this. What's one part of yourself that you have quietly boxed up? What is one part of you that used to feel lit up but got pushed aside for the sake of being responsible or capable or grown up? You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to make a dramatic change. But what if you just made a small move in the direction of coming home to yourself? If that idea speaks to you, if you're feeling stuck or off track, like you've outgrown the version of you that the world sees, then I created something for you. It's called The Reset. It's a free 5-day challenge to help you reset your energy and your focus and your connection to yourself. Each day you will get just a short email from me with a powerful tool, a printable tracker, and a few surprising mindset shifts that I usually only share with my paid students. It's really simple. It's intentional, and it's designed to help you to stop just going through the motions and start showing up on purpose. You can join the reset using the link below. And if this video resonated with you, leave a comment and let me know what part of yourself are you ready to stop hiding? Because the world doesn't need the most polished version of you. It needs the real one. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy watching the one that I am queuing up for you on the next screen. It's where I go into the full story of how I made the decision to leave medicine and what I learned that gave me the courage to walk away. I will see you there. Oh, spilled my water everywhere. Hi. Oh my gosh, my voice needs to warm up. All right.